We're in Holyoke, Massachusetts, and thanks for coming on another street tour, this time of Sargeant Street, named after one of the owners of the original Hadley Falls company making the original canal. And you see it's very residential on both sides. This used to be a trolley street, and that's why it's a slightly wider street than most streets in the greater part of Holyoke. Usually streets aren't this wide unless they're going north-south. This is one of the wider of the east to west streets for a purpose, because a main trolley line came up here going to Westfield. And especially right here, it's actually a lot wider, because here was the double tracks. So if one trolley coming from Westfield met up with another trolley coming from downtown Holyoke, they had to pass each other. They couldn't stay one line the whole way. This was a double line, and they'd pass right through here. And on your right hand side happens to be the site of the old Kirtland School. It's now, since the 1980s, Rohan Park, named after a congressman from Massachusetts government that was representing Holyoke for 20 years. That's an incredible record. And on both sides will be Victorian homes. This neighborhood up here is Oakdale, and was made by James Newton. He was a manufacturer downtown, but he also had home up here, and his developers built a lot of this neighborhood. But very quickly, right past the park, you go into a neighborhood, sub-neighborhood, built by Orrin Allen, and that becomes, or it is, the whole thing is Oakdale neighborhood. Sargeant Street is so long that it passes from Oakdale to Churchill to South Holyoke and goes to the canal. It's one of the few streets that does that whole path. Now you think it might be busier, but no, it's not that busy, because it's the upper part of the grid pattern. And we're crossing by a street that has both cemeteries on it. St. Jerome's Avenue has St. Jerome's Cemetery and Forestdale Cemetery, both on it. And so those are great tours. Then we're leaving this sub-neighborhood, and we're going definitely into one only developed by Orrin Allen. He made 300 houses around this neighborhood with his contract firm. He built them on the farm owned by his father. And if the Victorian homes have the same look to a lot of them, it's because he developed them that way. And he lived in this neighborhood too. And so if you take it slowly, you'll get to see that a lot of the homes look the same, but some changes. But there's always once in a while a home that's very, very different, right? Because people wanted a different look. All right, we're across some of the longer of the streets that go north-south, across Oak Street, with very heavy apartment or tenement houses around here. And then Beach Street. And in the distance to the left-hand side, you see the Massachusetts Armory. And that's where the National Guard of Massachusetts was based, around this part of the greater Holyoke area. And on this side of us would have been the former Holyoke High School and Trade School. Those are gone, replaced by the Elder Center and a bank. But we're going to start to go through more tenement houses. And you cross on the left by the German Lutheran Church as we cross Elm Street. And then lots of apartments and tenement houses. The Sargeant Street passes by the side of the Sacred Heart Church, along with its chapel. And then it passes two busy streets, Maple Street and High Street. And you're seeing yourself in a tunnel of tenement houses and large buildings. Because a lot of people lived here because the mills start within 2 blocks of here. And so a lot of mill workers would have lived here. And the upper part of Sargeant Street would have been where the mill workers tried to move off to when they got enough money in their wallets. And they were very successful. It's obvious as you go along here. Okay, then we meet up with High Street, the backbone of Holyoke. And that means when we cross High Street, we're going into the Canal District. It's going to be very large, and you're going to see, pause it. Okay, so we're going on to the rest of Sargeant Street that goes by the canals, and I'll point out the canals along the way. You're crossing Commercial Street. And you're crossing the first level canal here. And on the left is the Dickinson paper mill, which it looks like its front door is there. Sure it is, but its bigger part of its mill was actually down the alleyway. On the right hand side is now, you can see that the solar field, but it used to be the Parsons paper mill number 2. Only a piece of it is left. So Sargeant Street had big mills on it, and the first level canal is right at our edge. And this is one of the few streets that go through all 3 canals. Cabot Street does, and Sargeant Street does, and that's it. Okay, we're crossing Race Street, and the Friedrich block is on our left-hand side. It was an architectural works company, made beautiful pieces of architectural structures. The Holyoke Machine Company is on our right on 2 different portions of this main street, and then on our far left is a fire station, tenement blocks, and it used to be a lot more tenement blocks in the distance, and they've been changed or taken out. And so now we're going to a place where we're cutting right through the former Hamilton Street Park, and we're heading towards the Morgan School, at least the back portion of it. And the Morgan School takes up a whole city block nowadays. Okay, now we're down at Canal Street, and you can see across the way some of the mills that are in this area of Holyoke. There's lots of mills. There's lots of activity through the years in this very large neighborhood. And I'll point out a few of them. The one with a lot of paper in front of it is a Sunoco Paper Company. They recycle paper. And to our sharp right, there's the spike to allow the 3rd level canal's water to go out and into the Connecticut River. It's a 30-foot drop there. And also in the distance, you see the Springfield Blanket Company. You see one of the mills for Riverside Mill, paper mill, which is number 2 mill. You see the Union and Franklin in the foreground. And on the left-hand side, you see worker homes for the Franklin. So they're not as big as the Hadley or Lyman worker homes, but they're still there, and they still are very uniform, like you would expect. All right, so that was the very large Sargeant Street tour.